Okay, let's talk about money.
Let's talk money.
Let's talk money.
If you're in, one of the kind of coastal locations out of college, if you're not making $100,000, at least you're probably being underpaid, or could at least find a company that would pay you more. I'm not sure what that looks like if you're finding a job in Atlanta, for example. It might look very different down there, and I'm not familiar. I would also say talk to your friends. I think people don't talk about how much they make enough, which I think lends to a lot of pay inequity in the industry. It's what needs to happen in order to hold these companies that a lot of times don't want to pay you fairly accountable.
How should you go about valuing your work, especially when you're just getting started? And what have you found helpful for you as you've kind of grown throughout your career?
There is actually a decent formula that you can use in order to figure out how much you should be charging hourly.
There's a way to calculate this?
Oh my God. I know that there's a stereotype about artists not being good at math, and I am sad to say that I fit right in there. All right, so you think about how much money you would like to make in a year, and think about how many hours per week you would like to work or find is a reasonable amount to work. So let's go with 40, and you multiply that by 50 for the number of weeks in the year that you'll probably be working, because you should take some time out for sick days and vacations, just be kind to yourself. If you multiply that, that comes to 2,000 hours of working per year. So if you divide your yearly earnings goal, so let's say 60K, by that, you get about $30 an hour. You should also, 30 is pretty low, honestly. I usually start at least 50 an hour. Often clients will want to buy the commercial rights to your artwork, which means that they can use it and reproduce it as they see fit. You should charge a lot more for that, at least twice.
You've brought up kind of this concept of advocating for yourself a few times. Can you talk about, first of all, what that means in this industry? And second of all, how do you go about actually doing that?
Yeah, so it all comes down to self-respect. So if you are negotiating with a client and they quote you a rate that is much lower than the figure that you're looking for, push back on it. Don't just accept what they're offering you. I think most people forget that negotiation is and should be a part of all of these contract agreements.
Twitch is really good at giving the streamer opportunity to make money. There's the subscribe button, which is $4.99, and then that money gets split. Half the money goes to Twitch, and then half the money goes to the streamer. Or I get a different portion depending on if you have a specific contract with Twitch, which I'm sure somebody like Ninja is not getting 50-50. I'm sure he's getting a lot more money. And then there's another way to give the streamer money, which is bits. And bits is a currency that you buy with real money. So I think it's like $12 or $13 for 1,000 bits, but 1 bit is 1 penny. So when you're paying like that $12, you're getting $10 back, but that $10 can fully go to a streamer, and then the $2 up front is what Twitch is taking. And then there's ad revenue, although I think the ad revenue on Twitch is no one ever depends on. But that's that's the best way to make money on YouTube is ad revenue. And then the last way to make money on Twitch, besides purely on Twitch, because obviously you can have outside partnerships and stuff, is there's a bounty system that they have. So Twitch will reach out to video game companies, or they had an Adidas one at one point. So I'll use the Adidas one for an example. So it was watch a 1-minute ad of Adidas with your audience. And if you have 200 people here, you will get this much money. And if you have 500 people here, you'll get this much money. And so you just pull up the ad, you hit start bounty, you play it. And then after an hour, it'll process how many people were actually there. And then Twitch will pay you accordingly. And But that last option was only for specific partners on Twitch.
When we started the food truck in the second year, we made $15,000 between my wife, my dad, and I. So that was just like, okay. I was 26 at the time during our second season. I'm like, all right, that's okay. We can eat the extra dumplings we don't sell and we'll be okay. And then right now, actually, we had our best year in 2019 where we did over $1 million in revenue. And our margin on our bottom line is about 20% of that. And then we actually started paying ourselves. So my wife and I pay ourselves $75,000 a year right now, just from the business. And so our total take-home income was probably around $300,000 in 2019.
And then COVID came and ruined it all, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, and then we were back in the negative again. It was this felt, and that's in a lot of ways how it felt like year one again.
What should you charge as a photographer? Especially if I'm just getting started, how do I know how to value my work?
Okay, Kelsey, let me tell you something. I've been working for a decade, and that is the hardest. I tell you, you can ask any creative person, it is the hardest thing to put a value on your work. Even now, I'm trying to figure out my prints and my prices, and I'm just this is so uncomfortable. I'm definitely probably an underbidder when it comes to my work. Some people go by hour. They say, I charge $100 an hour. I charge $200 an hour, $50 an hour, but this is include, the deliverables are I'm going to give you 20 edited photos or whatever the case is, or 2 looks. So there are people that go about it that way. There are people that just have a day rate. I would advise people that are starting, first, think about how much money do you need to live? What is your budget? What would you, if you were looking for a regular 9-to-5 job, there's a certain criteria you go for with a salary. I say apply that to your photography as well. So maybe you're starting out and you're like, you know what, I just need to make $30,000 a year, let's just say, and you factor that out. And then you're like, okay, if I'm trying to do 3 shoots a month, I will price point it at this because I feel like this is what my work is worth. But I also feel like when you're working with companies or you're working with brands or people that are seeking you out, you should always ask them, what is their budget? Chances are it's probably a little higher than what you were going to ask for anyway. So you might have done a photo shoot for $300 and then you say hey, what is your budget? Or what are you looking to spend for this shoot? And they might say, oh, I'm looking to spend $600. And now you've doubled what you were going to ask just from simply having that back and forth. And also I would tell people, especially new photographers, to factor in the post work that you do. You might be on set with somebody for 2 hours, but then you're home for 5 hours editing the photos and retouching them and those things. So definitely don't undersell yourself. People will pay for work they want. There is money to be spent. There is a lot of money in the world. So please do not feel like you can't ask for it, especially if you are a woman and especially if you are a woman of color.
As a fellow, my starting salary was $60,000, which was, I think, very generous. As an attorney, and I had checked, I can actually say this. So the ACLU of Massachusetts recently unionized. So our floor for incoming staff attorneys is $70,000. But on the other side of this is but big law. The starting salary for first year attorneys is $190,000. I would never make that in my current career path. But my friend also, his starting salary was $225,000. So literally twice the amount of money I can ever expect to make in my current career path. For most public interest or nonprofits, our salaries are actually disclosed. Not bottom level attorneys or staff people, but the legal director or the executive director, they're required to disclose their income on tax forms, etc. So you can actually see what they make and what you can the highest amount that you can expect to make in this field. So that's pretty much the norm.
That is such a bigger disparity than I ever thought. That's wild.
My friends were like texting each other, and we're like on a group chat about like their bonuses. If it's a lot, or like, oh, like I just got like a pay bump because I'm now like a second year, and I'm just like, I don't want to be included in this.
What is a fair starting salary? Like, what is typical in this industry, and then, you know, what should you actually kind of strive for?
It depends what city you're in, I think. The American Association of Museums has done a salary survey of the industry for a number of years. That's a useful resource.
Got the survey. Starting from if you're just entering the field as a curatorial assistant, it says in the low range is around $25,000 and in the high range is around $46,000. For assistant curator, low end is $31,000, high end is $68,000. And then senior curator, $42,000 is on the low end, $105,000 is on the high end. And then for chief curator, which seems like the top dog here, it's $34,000 on the low end and $107,000 on the high end. Someone who's interested in this profession wants to take an internship, but it's unpaid. Would you suggest that they take it for the experience or look somewhere else?
You know, it's a personal choice. I would say no. And I wish I had held the line years ago, but it was just not, it was not something that people did at that time. And I was really accustomed to just trying to make things work, regardless of how difficult it was. You know, but yeah, it's a personal choice. I think it depends on your own situation. You might do an internship where you're just researching provenance, or you're looking at images for a catalog that will be published in 2 years. And you're writing artist biographies for a show that you'll never get to see. So, you know, internships can give you some insight behind the scenes in an institution, but you might not really get hands-on experience making a show.
Thanks for watching. Do you have a career crush? Tell us about them in the comments and we'll see if we can talk to them for you. Subscribe to our channel to see more interviews with people actually living the dream. Bye!